Hello and welcome to Around the Piano. Very nice to have friends here, wonderful guests and friends as well. We have Jennie Elmslie here, who's joining us today at the piano. We have Rob Hutchison as well. Jennie is from Free Spirit Tours, and she has been organizing adventures here for people in Wasaga Beach all seasons. Winter, summer, for a number of years. We're going to have a chat with Jennie. Rob Hutchison is a realtor with Century 21, what's called in studio Realty. And we're going to talk with Rob about owning investment properties. And is it something that you would want to consider? What are the pros and cons? Is it for everyone? No. Is it for some people? Maybe. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to speak with Lisa Carpell. Is Lisa here? She's around. Oh, hey, Lisa. Lisa is the acting curator here at the Stonebridge Art Gallery, the Wasaga Society for the Arts. And what you see around you now is it's called Inspired by a Lifetime, which is a show that has been on here for a number of weeks, where seniors in the area have been taking art classes with Lisa. And so this is almost the last opportunity so if you haven't seen it, I'm glad that you're here for that reason alone. Because it's really, really nice. So Lisa's going to talk about that and also what's coming up, because there's a new show coming up very soon. I also want to mention our sponsor, our media sponsor, Beach Booster, who has been great in doing a half page for us in the last issue, and I hope they'll do it again for us. I'm going to let a few more people onto the Zoom, and we are going to get rolling here. Okay, so Jennie, nice to have you here. You recently won, Jennie Elmslie recently won an award at the on International Women's Day. There was the Wasaga Beach Chamber of Commerce had an awards event dinner at Pizza D's, which was very nice. And Jennie won the Inspire Award. And I think that's great, because I know that personally, I know that Jennie helped to inspire me too. One day we were at a meeting at the Chamber of Commerce, and it was just the beginning of winter. And I said, Jennie, I just said, I'm really not, the cold, it's getting to me. So she said, I think it's time you go and, get serious, get your jacket and everything you need to be warm outside and get out and start enjoying the fresh air. So she certainly did inspire me. So Jennie, tell us about, first of all, how long have you been living in Wasaga Beach and in the area?
Okay, well,
and how did you get into adventuring?
Oh, well, there we go. There's a story. So I've been in the area for at least 30 years. And then so I lived in Collingwood first, and then moved to Wasaga Beach probably about 10 years ago. And less than that, but have been running the business here for 10 years. The business overall, Free Spirit Tours, is in its 25th year. And how did I get into it? Well, I'll tell you. It's a bit of a story. But when I first moved to the area, there was no work. There was no work at all. And I actually moved to the area to pick apples. And so I worked on an apple orchard, and, had never seen like the Niagara Escarpment before, or Georgian Bay. And I was truly inspired by the landscape. And I was just like, wow. So I got into rock climbing and caving and kayaking, and anyways, couldn't find a job, after the apple picking, and so decided to start my own business, and here we are.
And the rest of history. Yeah. So that was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring something on the screen, if I can share the screen here. We have some photos, and I wanted to ask you about some of the things that are going on. So first of all, here's you. The award was sponsored by Tim Hortons, and that is Sarah Collins. Right, she owns a few Tim Hortons. So that was very nice. And so, yeah, I was looking at your website and here's some of the things
Yeah.
you're offering.
Yeah, so that one is winter caving.
Oh, yeah.
So that is super fun. So that's we do up at Metcalf Rock, and you go underground. And yeah, one of the caves that we go into, you're going at least 70 feet underground,
Wow.
and there is a river at the bottom of it. So that's always kind of cool to see the river, and the water is always flowing no matter what time of the year it is, because it's spring water. So spring water never freezes. It's always at a pretty constant temperature. So that's pretty cool to see underground.
Can you swim in that?
No, it's like a little creek.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's just, yeah, it's not huge, but
Well, we were just in Mexico and we went in these the
oh,
cenotes,
that would be
right? Which
amazing.
is the same idea.
Yeah,
And far underground, and some of them you can swim in.
that would be super cool.
Yeah, but it sounds very similar.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
not quite as open.
Okay, right? Gotcha.
Squeezing through.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one here is we partnered with some breweries and with some vineyards, and so we do like a shoe and brew or a snowshoe and wine tasting. And so yeah, you do a little bit of activity first, or a paddle and wine. And so you can go for a kayak or a snowshoe first, and then we can take you to either, one of the breweries, like, there's Collingwood Brewery or Side Launch, and then we go to Georgian Hills Vineyards, and yeah, and then you have a little sampling of what they have there. So that's pretty popular with corporate groups and bachelorette parties, stuff like that, or
Right.
birthday parties. One way, yeah.
And of course, there's rocking on the river.
Yes, yeah.
In the summer. I'm sure a lot of people here have experienced the rocking on the river.
I know there's some people here that have.
Tell us for anybody who's not familiar with it.
Right. Okay. So Rock in the River it's going to be its third year. And basically what happens is that you start paddling from the Wasaga Beach Sports Park, and you go all the way down to McDonald's, to the Schoonertown Park. And so for the first hour, you're going through provincial parkland. It's normally like a 2-hour paddle if you're not stopping along the way. But we have positioned all along the way different musical acts. And so the first hour through provincial parkland will actually probably take you about 2 hours, because we've got like all these different bands. So there's Victoria Ye, who does violin. There's like an Indigenous drummer. There's, Lotus Sound, like a didgeridoo. Yeah, just amazing. 6 chickens in the kitchen. They're kind of like I don't even know what they are. Like,
right.
Yeah. And then you hit the sand dunes, and then from there on in, it's like cottages and houses, and then we have like more rockin' bands, like in that section. And so then it really ramps up. And so normally like the 2-hour paddle becomes almost like a 3.5-hour paddle, and it is a good time because it's all different type of music, and you're going with the current, so that's very helpful. So you don't have to do too much work to paddle down, but it's a ton of fun, and the musicians love it. Like there's Johnny Two Nice, like reggae music, and there's like Chris and John, and there's a Mackenzie Blues Band. There's like a ton of bands. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. So that's an event that you do together with the town.
Yeah. So we partnered with the town, and yeah, and it seems to work out really great. So they provide like the transportation. Once you get to Schoonertown, you're gonna have to somehow get your boat and yourself back to the sports park, right, where you parked. So the town provides the transportation to get you back, and we shuttle your boats back, and we also rent boats. That's what we do.
Right. So if you don't have a boat, you've got a boat. Guys, can you put yourself on mute there, please? Thank you. Okay, so now has anybody here been caving down in one of these caves?
I don't think anyone here has been caving. You need to come out.
You need to come out. And does anyone have questions for Jennie? Now, I know the rock in the river, that sells out very quickly. So
It does. Yeah.
But it's running all day, like you have on the hour, there's like.
Yeah, so basically what happens is that we start at 10 o'clock in the morning and then we go every half hour on the half hour. So 10:30, up until I think 2:30 is our last, we call it flotillas going out. And then we have 25 boats in a flotilla. And basically why we do that is so that we have a guide in the front and a guide in the back of the flotilla, and we escort the flotilla to each, musical act. Because if we don't do that, then sometimes people are going to stay at a musical act for way too long because they're really good, right?
Right.
But we need to keep people moving because otherwise people will be on the river till like midnight.
Yes, for sure. So do we know when tickets are going to be available for this summer?
We're really hoping soon. We're just working out the selling of the tickets. So I would say hopefully in the next 3 weeks. But it's August 12th. We do have a website called rockintheriver.ca, and it will be posted on that, but it's not updated yet. So if you go there, it's not updated yet, but it will be soon. Yeah.
So watch for that. I'm sure the announcements will be made on
Yeah.
Facebook or wherever, so we gotta be.
That's our spring project.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that sounds like a lot of fun. So we'll have to watch out for that and get tickets quickly before
Oh, yeah.
I go, because
But
they do.
yeah, but the greatest thing about rocking the river, and I will say that if you have your own boat, anybody can go on the river, right? Like if you have a friend who lives on the river, like just go over to their house and then, find a boat. Just get on the river, because that's the greatest thing about it, is that anybody can go on the river and you can check it out. So it's not an exclusive thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, no questions for Jenny?
Do you have any pamphlets? Probably not. I guess it's all online, is it?
Yeah, everything is online.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's under Free Spirit Tour?
Yeah, freespirittours.ca.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right, did we miss anything? Is there anything coming up?
Yeah,
What's coming
actually
up?
we do. We have mark your calendars.
Yeah.
June 9th, we are doing a paddling film festival at the Collingwood Simcoe Theatre Collingwood.
Okay,
And this is in partnership with Simcoe County Tourism. And it's an international film festival, but all about paddling. And it should be a good time. There'll be prizes. Oh yeah, there'll be prizes.
all right.
The Simcoe Theatre, like it's right across, like kitty corner from the library in Collingwood. Yeah. Yeah. So June 9th.
June 9th.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Simcoe Theater, I love that venue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very cool venue.
So I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it. So, Jenny is one of the sponsors for this lovely feast that you're enjoying tonight.
So eat up.
So enjoy.
Do you do the cave stuff in the summer too, or is that?
Oh, yeah.
is that more of a winter thing?
No, it's a summertime thing too. Yeah.
You done it?
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, nice and cool.
Is it
Yeah.
very narrow though?
Super narrow. If you're claustrophobic, I would not recommend it, but
What
it's
about overweight?
no, like no, you know what? It's pretty cool. Like it's like well, I don't want to give it all away, but you just need to come out and experience it. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for
Oh,
part of today's Around the Piano, hanging out
yeah,
on the
nice.
piano with us. Unfortunately, the piano doesn't actually work, but it's a wonderful prop, and it's a wonderful place to be here in the gallery. So
Yeah.
glad you could join us
Thank you.
today.
Thank
Thank you a
you.
lot, Jenny.
Yeah.
Jenny Elmslie from East Territory. Okay, next up to join us around the piano, we have Rob Hutchison, Realtor from Century 21 in Studio Realty.
Yes. you got it.
Welcome, Rob. How you doing
Thanks.
today?
Excellent. Everything's
Excellent.
excellent.
Gonna let
Yeah.
some more people into the Zoom here. All right, so today the main topic today is, so you want to be a landlord. Some people think, oh, if I own property, everything's going to be great. And it has been good for most people. Let's face it. I think that many people have accumulated a lot of wealth and done very well. by building our portfolio of real estate, but how do you do it? And is it for you? So we want to talk about that. And Rob also has some, general tips if you are a landlord or if you're tips for listing too, right?
Yeah, tips for listing,
tips for listing.
landlord. If it's your first foray into real estate, and if it's something you're just thinking about or just want to be more educated, hopefully the tips
So,
will help one way or another.
Excellent. I'm sure they will. So you've been living in Wasaga Beach for 15 years. See, it says right there, 15 years.
I thought that was wrong. Hutchison.
Oh, did I put an N there by mistake?
That's great. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, 15 years full time. Been here all my life, one way or another. If it was weekends, cottaging, or up skiing, whatever it was, I was always around. Yeah.
Okay, very good. And you work together with Shauna in a team.
Yes, we have our team. We actually just announced our new team name is Leverage Realty Team.
Okay.
Still under the Century 21 umbrella, but it's a team where we're growing. We've added another new person just started the other day. We have a few new people coming on board in the next little while, and some who wish to remain nameless. However, they're named within our flyer here. So Wendy will be coming on board as soon as she finishes the course.
Wendy's going to be coming on board. Wendy's your girlfriend. We can say that.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. And
I don't know. Ask Wendy. Ask Wendy. Is it official?
I like the name
Wendy?
Leverage.
That was a key factor in picking.
I like the name Wendy, but I also like the name Leverage Realty.
Yes.
Because usually when there's leverage, that means that people are getting a mortgage,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
near and dear to my
Exactly.
pocketbook. Anyway, so and Handyman Joe is part of your team too.
Yeah, Joe's been a differentiator for us and sets us apart from a lot of teams because has a wealth of knowledge with building structures, home components, whether it's electrical, plumbing. He's very familiar with all the facets. And during the past few years, it really helped clients who didn't have time because to get inspections or get their houses marked. He was able to come in and offer some guidance to sellers or buyers to help them make their decision a little bit easier. So yeah, it's worked out really well.
That's good because I mean, I think, you want to have an inspection, so you've got an inspector to do that, but then
Yeah.
sometimes you might want to make changes to the house.
Yeah, so Joe's also available. A lot of people, they've been in their house for years. They know every little nook and cranny and crack and in the wall or whatever, anything that needs to be touched up. And some people are unable to do that themselves. In fact, a lot of people are. So that's where Joe comes in handy, and Handy Joe, and
Right.
he comes in and
Yeah,
hence the name.
I think that could definitely be handy to know what's required. If you want to make a change and you don't know about houses, or somebody like me, you don't know if it's a $5,000 change or, 25,000.
Absolutely.
So that's definitely handy. Now, do you want to go from the script, or we can jump around if you want to do,
Let's go for this.
you want to talk a little to this point?
Yeah, it's
Wasaga Beach?
Yeah, Wasaga Beach is now, according to Stats, the second fastest growing community in Canada, which, David's also involved with the networking meeting and a breakfast meeting for small businesses. And I think it's just a fantastic time to be in Wasaga Beach with all the growth, people coming in here, small businesses. You can only benefit from having the type of growth that's going to be happening in the next few years. Right now, there's 56 according to the Wasaga Beach website. There's an interactive map. You can click on it. It's easy to find. There's numbers from 1 to 56. You just hold your mouse over the number. Sometimes you got to zoom in a little closer, and it tells you what the development is, whether it's commercial, residential, a combination of both, high occupancy or high density seniors homes. I saw one that I hadn't heard of, was a motel, a 7-room motel or hotel coming up. Things like that. So it's really interesting. And within that, there's indication that there's 5,200, actually it's 53, over 5,200 homes, residential units will be built within Wasaga. That doesn't include Clearview or Stainer. That's again with owned Wasaga. when we look at a number like 5,200, that's a residential unit. You also have to factor that more on average 2.3 people per unit. So we're getting close to 12,000 more people that homes for people are in the development stage. So it's progress. The new council that's been recently elected, really excited about that because they really seem to be involved. I see Joe and Ellen at the meetings, and they're really involved with the, business of helping people, businesses grow and stuff like that. And then we had Danny from the building, Wasaga Beach building, come out and talk and just about the growth and what they're planning. They're on the ball and
So
wait for it to
and
happen.
of course, Joe and Ellen, you're referring to our counselors for people. I mean,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sure everybody here would know, but for the people who are in line, maybe not local. We have a council who is very visible. They were
Yes.
Ellen and Joe,
Timms and Joe.
Ellen Timms and Joe Belanger were here last month
Okay.
at our inaugural episode
right,
of
yes.
Around the Piano. And as you said, Danny Rogers was at a meeting we had at the Builders Association. So really tight community and visible council, which is very nice. So do you want to talk to, I mean, I'm sure people can't in the room are not be able to see the fine details of this, but you can at least tell them what's happening here.
There's like a line here and it goes up. And over here, it's at the top. So basically, this is the gray line is the Wasaga Beach. Just starts back in 2020 and up to, should have my glasses on first. Yeah, 2020 January. And basically, it's the average price for residential property in Wasaga Beach. And what we're seeing here is that for February is we hear so much doom and gloom in the media and how bad things really are. And even when it was the low point, it was in December of last year. For the last few years was December. We're still well above where we were in 21 and 2020. So basically, anybody who's bought a house prior to 2022, because this is where 2020 January 2022, or sorry, it's February up here.
Yes.
Everybody's doing better. Like it's not all.
So that was the peak.
think.
I think
Yeah.
since they can't see the numbers, I'll just, so this was
Oh, sorry, yeah.
in 2020, prices were between 400,000 and 500,000. I remember we were looking, that was just pre-COVID, right? 2020. We were looking and all the developers had signs up saying prices from the 400s. Now they've all changed their signs. It says from the 800s, except one developer. I won't mention who. They just leave it at 400, and I guess they'll let people call. Oh, sure, that was an old sign. Right, and then it goes up to almost $800,000.
Was it almost 900?
Almost 900. Average price in the peak, which is around February or so.
It was
in
February.
last
It was
year.
February of 2022. The low was December of where it hit up. It was right around 630.
And now it's starting to go up
And
again.
now it's starting to go.
So it's starting to go up.
The reason why you see Wasaga, the gray line jumping up a little bit more than the orange line is for the whole region from Owen Sound all the way up to the Lakelands in Muskoka. Sorry, not Muskoka, but the reason why you see the gray line, that's because there is less. The gray is just Wasaga Beach, and there's less houses sold in those months. So each house makes more.
But we're going up quick.
Yeah, it's still going up.
We're going up quick here.
Yeah, everything's moving.
Moving up. Okay, good. So you want to talk to this? Because I figure some people might wonder, it's a beach, right? When you get a waterfront property, what does it cost for a waterfront property?
So this one was jumped out at me because it's for $1.4 million, which can be an average price for the home in Toronto and was for a while. You don't have all the traffic. It looks like the road's empty. The river's kind of quiet at that point. But it's also this house has 2 bedrooms upstairs, 2 bedrooms downstairs. There's 2 kitchens in it, separate entrance. So it kind of doesn't have to be lived in with just one family. It's a great property if you have an in-law suite or a granny suite downstairs, and or just to rent it out and supplement your income on the market. So it was there's a few houses in the river that are, that's kind of again the average price there.
significant premium for waterfront, as is expected
Yeah.
anywhere.
And this one was, it's been redecorated. You can move that and move in right away and still have a really nice house, like the decorations, the way it's been updated,
Yeah.
the stainless steel, the kitchen appliances and lighting. So it's in good shape.
So can I talk to this point here, Rob? Okay, and then so why real estate if you want to, if you're thinking? So, well, I think that, I mean, besides what I said earlier, you saw people have accumulated significant wealth by owning real estate. There's a housing shortage in Canada, and it's expected that about 500,000 people are going to be moving every year to Canada, new immigrants into Canada. There's a housing shortage. And probably about half of those people are landing in the Toronto area, and then they gradually move out from there. So there's a lot of continued demand for real estate. And that's why, despite interest rates being at their peak now, you see that house prices have dipped, but they're already going back up. So, if you ask anybody in the real estate industry, when is a good time to buy? Of course, they're always going to say now is a good time to buy, but now really is a good time to buy. And I say that because we're coming off the back of the winter market. We're just about to enter the spring, and real estate's interest rates are at their peak. So I think in the next months and year, we're going to start seeing interest rates coming back down. And they're not that high if you look historically, right? I just got somebody a 2-year mortgage at 5.25% from a bank. There's been some downward pressure. I mean, from day to day, the inflation numbers are still up. Maybe they'll go up, but I don't think so. I think we're at the peak. Yes, Roger.
Wouldn't that,
Do you want to come to the piano, make your point so people can hear you? Okay, fine. Yeah.
to say like pre-COVID, that's what the interest rates were, right? They were in that same area, 4 or 5%.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Just got back to it.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So so they're at a manageable level. But of course, prices are somewhat high, compared to people's salaries, which is an issue. But despite that, they're buying homes and the prices keep going.
I know it's a side note, the budget released today. They're now calling $90,000. If you're below $90,000, that's you get an extra $500 a year or something like that. So the federal government has decided that's the kind of like the dividing line.
Yes.
When you think of it that way, like $90,000, like one a year seemed like a lot of money. I guess nowadays with it's not as yeah.
And if you do want to own rental properties, there's you have to consider how you're going to deal with those tenants. Right? How are you going to manage those tenants? Because well, I don't know. Do you want to talk about that, or we were going to have a property manager here. Chris was going to be here, and I guess he couldn't make it to comment on that. But it's not a small thing. I know there's a couple gentlemen in the back of the room, Mike and David. They're managing some rentals. Do you want to comment on what that's like? What should people be looking out for? Should they be outsourcing property management?
I'd recommend purchasing an investment property with your tenant. If you have at least one person in the relationship that's handy, you can do some of the small tasks, changing toilets. That'll save you quite a bit of money because small things do come up and tenants call and you don't want to be paying for expenses every single time.
Yeah.
I look after properties in Muskoka as well. So over time you build a relationship with certain contractors like plumbers who I can call and then we'll do a little video call with me and then go through and assess the problem. So I don't have to physically be there in person anymore, which really helps, saves you time and gas. So over time, you just build a relationship with different people that can help you. And I also have a connection within the condo corporation. So there's people that live in the condo complex who kind of give me a sneak preview of what's going on. If there's a boat parked in the garage or in front of the garage, or if there's a noise complaint, I'll be made aware. So it just comes down to building relationships over time.
Right, and I know you have to be careful, like even saying the wrong thing to an applicant about why you don't want them.
Yes,
You have to be very careful.
and you can't charge a premium if someone wants to bring in a pet. So that's important.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, how to deal with things like that. So you need to know your stuff.
Okay.
Do you want to, here, we can come back to this. Do you want to talk to this or where do you want to go?
Since we already on the rental thing,
Sure.
let's stay there.
Okay.
So, you know, like Michael said about having the connections for maintenance and ongoing, that is a vital thing. I mean, ultimately it's going to affect your bottom line. When you're comparing your income at the end of the day to what amount of money you've invested into it. So part of the some of the other things you want to do from more the legal side is know what the legality is, know what the rules are, follow the laws, know the landlord tenant agreement. It's important in Ontario that there's a standard form of lease that's published by the Ontario government. It's available. Their rules are that your residential, private rental units must use that form. Does everybody? I'd say no, but it's something that if you ever come up there where there's an issue with a tenant, if you use that form, then obviously things will help you guide you through the process. Screening your tenants, there's a single key, Equifax, things like that will give you an idea, a snapshot of what your tenants are, what their credit history is like, possibly their employment, their other places they've lived, other things like that to give you an idea. Setting a fair rent price. Like if you're gonna charge too low, you might not get the type of clientele that you want for your building. If you charge too high, you might not get people buying. So know the market, get realtors who maybe know the market, help you and guide you in that way. Keeping the property maintained. In the winter, it's ice. In the summer, it's keeping the lawn, make sure there's no cracks in the pavement, stuff like that. Make sure that the repairs are kept up. If you let things go, then things get worse. Tenants aren't going to be happy, and things will escalate. Addressing tenant concerns promptly. So if the tenant's calling you, like I said, 2:00 in the morning, if you can respond as quick as possible, great. If you can't, it just sets off the whole basis of the relationship with them and how they're going to interact with you and how you're going to things you're going to deal with. Get your own insurance and keep back, in case something happens, fire, protect yourself at all costs, and keep accurate records. Make sure that whether you're claiming the money or not, make sure that you keep accurate records of what's done and all that kind of stuff, just to help with expenses. Marketing your property. There's a whole other thing about where you're going to market your property to. Lately, a lot of people market things on Marketplace. Makes sense, but it's a good
Facebook
thing.
Marketplace.
Facebook Marketplace. It's a quick way, easy, cheap to get your property out there. MLS is still available to market properties, and then people do the Kijiji, or I'm sure if you go into the supermarket, you'll see those little strippy things and things for some people. So that's those are things that realtors can help you with. There's if you have experience or know property managers are a good way to go too, because it does take a lot of that load off of your mind and allows you to sleep at night knowing that they're going to get the call at 2:00 in the morning and you're not. So, but everything has its costs. So really depends on how much money you want to make at the end of the day and how much money you have to put into it.
Okay, very
That's it
good.
for that.
Okay, any questions? No, that was not a question, just the arm raise. Okay.
So,
Why don't I talk a little bit to the different types of real estate that you can invest in, pros and cons of each, and what the financing might look like. So first of all, obviously residential real estate, loved by everyone, probably the lowest risk generally. Everybody needs a place to live. And from a financing standpoint, you can normally get the best financing on residential real estate, whether it's one unit or more. If you have multiple units, you reduce the risk of having a problem with the tenant. If you're really dependent on that income, or if you're living with a tenant in your basement, and a tenant stops paying, it could be a major headache, right? So you can buy 1 to 4 units, or you can buy 5 units and up. And the reason I differentiate those two is because you actually, there's special financing considerations for when you have 5 units and up. The lenders look at your mortgage application very differently. And if you're thinking, I don't think I may not be able to afford 5 units, you can also consider buying in as part of a group with other people. Because when you have that many tenants, it reduces your risk, and it gives you the ability to have special, you can buy an apartment building with as little as 15% down, and amortizations up to 40 years, which you cannot get on a regular house. In fact, they now have special things where if you're offering affordable housing or you meet certain energy criteria, you can get amortizations up to 50 years. And when you're in that, when you're holding those kinds of properties, cash flow is everything. So if you can reduce your expenses by having longer amortizations, it's often seen as a big plus and adds value to your property. And and CMHC will insure those 5 units and above. Okay, so now, yes, so now they will also insure 1 to 4 units, but only if you're living in it. You have to be living in it. If you're not living in it, you need at least 20% down. So, and now looking at commercial real estate, commercial's a little bit higher risk than residential. Of course, it depends on the actual property and who your tenants are. So, it's interesting. Sometimes you'll be driving around and you'll see like one corner of the street, and there's like a Loblaws and like the best tenants, right? Shoppers Drug Mart, LCBO, those are the tenants you want to have. And then for some reason in a reasonably good area, a plaza is having trouble getting decent tenants. So commercial real estate can be more volatile like that. And as a result, the mortgage rates are more expensive too, often, but not always. Again, if your tenants are LCBO and Shoppers Drug Mart, and you're strong financially, you might be able to get very good mortgage rates. Mixed use properties is where you have residential and commercial mixed together. And of course, there's land, right? Raw land or development land. So that depends on whether you're ready to develop the land. Like a lender's going to want to know, what's your plan, right? And that kind of financing is usually more expensive because there's no revenue being generated from the property initially. So it's considered higher risk, right? Until you actually have a building there with tenants. Any questions about financing? Yes, Colleen.
Is there a certain occupancy if you own a commercial building for financing that you as an owner would need to have for different rates or?
Certain occupancy? Right, so okay, so first of all, a lender's going to look at what is the income on the property. This is one thing where commercial is different from residential. They're going to look mainly at how is that asset performing? What is the income on that property? So whether you're at 50% occupancy, I mean, it would stand to reason that if you're at 100 or closer to it, you're going to get more money. But if you have a plan, let's say you're somebody who's been able to go into properties and make improvements. Banks aren't always the most creative in that respect. So they might just look at a property and say, well, it's not performing well. We're only going to lend you this much money today. Whereas sometimes an alternative lender will look at it and say, oh, okay, I see your plan here. You've had some experience going in, fixing, improving the profile of your tenants, improving the income of the building. So we're going to lend you more money because we see what you're trying to do. Of course, they'll charge higher rates, but you can always refinance them to lower rates once the asset is performing at a higher level. So, if we're talking mid-sized to large commercial. It doesn't really matter if you're living in the property or not. In fact, sometimes it could be worse. Like, so if you wanted to buy, somebody wants to buy a store in an apartment, and so you're gonna occupy the store, and so you don't have an outside lease, or so there's ways around that, but yeah. Hey, Veronica, hello, welcome. Hi. Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question or not. Yeah, kind of. Okay, all right. We can chat more if you have more specific questions after. Anybody else have questions? Hi, David. Yeah.
How you doing?
Great, great. Anyone else? Before I forget, I just wanted to mention that my wife Debbie helped to put together all this food. And of course, thanks to Rob Hutchison as well. He's also one of the sponsors of the event tonight. All right, so we've covered some things. Rob, do you want to talk to these items here?
Okay, so conditions are part of an offer. So if you're ready to buy a property and you talk to your realtor and you want to put an offer in your property, there's things that you want to do to protect yourself. And there's a lot of usual ones here, like the inspection, make sure the house is sound, make sure the HVAC is working, all that kind of stuff, which you want to get a qualified inspector to help you with. Finance, same thing, want to make sure that you should be pre-approved at some point. If you're looking at a mortgage, talk to your bank ahead of time. Don't wait till you put the offer in. But if it's one thing that, you're not sure how close you are with the price and your finances, then get the finance inspection in there. Water and septic. The town of Wasaga, we don't really have the issues. When you get into the rural areas, a lot be concerned about the quality of water, type of well, the septic system. Is it dug? Is it a dug well? Is it a drilled well? Is the water safe to drink? And on the septic side, is a septic system functioning properly? Is it designed for the size of building, or is it still working efficiently? So those are like a lot of typical things. Lately, in the past, few years, people have been buying homes without being able to put in conditions because they just don't have the time. Sellers didn't want to look at offers that had conditions, but now we're seeing things like the sale of the buyer's property. So it's a condition that you're putting in on your offer that gives you time to sell your property so that you're not homeless at the end of the day. The key things that I want to talk about now, a grow house is another one that people have put it in. It's more of a clause than it is a condition, but it may be something that you want to verify that the house wasn't ever used to grow illegal substances, because that can create a whole bunch of other issues within the house and the structure. The things that we don't talk about, we don't usually see, are the due diligence clause. And it's a little bit different between residential and multi-unit. And I'll just touch on a few things that are worth keeping in mind. So if it's a home, and again, we're not just talking in Wasaga Beach, think about rural areas, you want to seek legal advice. So a due diligence clause gives you time to go take your offer to your lawyer so that he can review it or she can review it and make sure that you're making the right decision, that all the things that go along with the property, the legal description, zoning, if there's any conservation authorities around or stipulations around the property, whether you're trying to build, if you want to have a home-based business, are you allowed to do that? In certain areas you can't. So that's part of the due diligence. Also, if you're waterfront, if you have a dock or a boathouse, lawyers will check and do the title search to make sure that the boathouse or the dock are legal and conforming. In different areas of waterfront along Georgian Bay, there's land claims against some of the land now on the waterfront. There's shore road allowances, there's unopened shore road allowances, there's or in some cases there's no shore road allowance at all. So it's something that if you're buying a property, you want to know what land is yours or what land may not be totally. Also, if you're buying a house, if there was additions, have the people who put the addition on, have they obtained permits? Are those illegal? Are they legal? renovations that were done, does it meet electrical standards and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of the towns now will publish if a house has a permit, so they publish it. You can look up and find out if there's permits are outstanding on houses, or if they've been closed off, if they obtain the permits, occupancy permits and stuff like that. A good thing to know if you're buying a century home is, does it have a heritage home designation? Because that can create a whole bunch of other issues and what you're allowed to do and far when it comes to renovating and stuff like that. If you're buying a new home, is your builder registered with Tarion so that you can take advantage of any warranty issues through Tarion? And that's a whole other issue of what their warranties cover and over years. But permitted uses, again, if it's residential, can it only be residential? Can you open up a storefront? Can you sell ice cream out of your garage or whatever? Those type of things you want to know ahead of time. When you get into condos and land leases, that they have their own sets of bylaws and rules and covenants. So they're again, that's where your legal advice, your lawyer will help you navigate through that. Same thing with land leases that we just talked about. They have their own rules. So environmental assessments are another thing. When you get into commercial property, you want to make sure that even some older homes, if there's oil tanks, you want to make sure that they've been disposed of, that they just haven't been buried under the ground. There's the TSSA you would call in, and they can do site assessments, environmental assessments on the property, and make sure that it's okay, the property's clean and safe to live in. And another one, so what we're seeing a lot of lately is the green energy contract. So people who have solar panels on their house, they might have an existing contract where they're actually receiving money to have that solar panels, the power that's generated by the solar panel that goes back to the system. So there's revenue, and those contracts should be reviewed by a lawyer. HST due by non-residents. Yeah. So because there's a lot of foreign investment in Canada, you want to make sure that the seller is a Canadian resident. Otherwise, if they aren't and you don't, they don't pay the HST as a buyer, you will be responsible for paying the HST on your property. So that could be quite an expensive mistake to make. That's primarily the residential. When you get into the multi-unit properties, like Dave was talking about, things you want to check on are, was it a purpose-built building? If it's multi-units, purpose-built, was it designed as an apartment complex when it was built? Does it have a single boiler system for all the units? Is there central water, central heating, stuff like that too? Which, when you think about it, if a home and kept adding units onto it, they might have 7 or 8 water heaters within the building, which could be an expensive thing to replace once they all start going. The due diligence part too on homes is there any so even if they do have the hot water tanks, are there existing contracts in place that have to be bought out or have to be settled before you take ownership? You want to check on the rent roll, other incomes, other source of incomes from the apartment buildings. Things like laundry machine, that could be another source of income that the current owner might not tell you about just because they've been hiding the money, but it's also would help your bottom line. Taxes, maintenance, and insurance are just that. That's another, you want to ensure that you know what those taxes, maintenance, and insurance are up front so that doesn't come up and jump you at the end of the day. Parking spaces, you can get more money from that too. And if there's in a multi-unit, what are the leases that are in place? Are they just all month to month? Are they long-term? And what can you do with rents and changing them? Or can you get vacant possession? So.
Okay, very good. So do you want to just talk, this is, I think, pretty much the last slide here. Do you want to this is a comparison of 3 properties.
Yeah.
People won't be able to see, but you want to just
So
tell
basically,
roughly what's happening here?
Yeah, we have 3 properties here. These 2, the outside ones are 2-unit properties, all legal compliant, meaning they have their own meters and hydrometers and stuff like that. This is one that's a 2-unit for 580,000. This one's a 2-unit for 800,000. So now we're talking the difference of $220,000. Whereas the actual monthly income on rent might only be $1,000 or $1,200. So you're spending over 200,000. Mind you, this one was, I think that was Barry.
Yeah, that
So it was
was
Barry. This one was Markdale.
right. The middle one is
So they're both right now with the shortage of rentals, the shortage of homes, the shortage of rentals. Rentals don't stay on the market. Rental don't stay available for very long. It's just something where you want to decide as an investor, where is your money best spent and what is your return going to be? Because you can, for a big, huge difference in price, you can almost get the same type of return on your investment.
okay.
That was
Very good. So you've got business cards, flyers. I worked out, if anybody's interested, I got a few of these. These show it's a couple of pro formas on some properties that Rob found. One of them is a duplex here in Wasaga Beach, even though it just sold at a lower price. But this will show you your rents and your mortgage payments, make, certain assumptions. And then there's a 9 units in Aurelia, which shows you, everything, including your down payment and rents. And again, certain assumptions, but it, keeps into fact how the rates are different depending on what it is and of the amortization. So on, if you want that, you can grab that or
But Dave,
talk to
just
me.
for the instance,
Yeah.
the bottom line on this one, I guess was
What?
there was only whether you bought a 2-unit upfront.
Well, they're both positive cash flowing
Yeah.
properties.
But it wasn't a huge difference in
There wasn't a huge difference. No. There wasn't a huge difference on a per unit basis. No, there wasn't.
Yeah.
No. So that's it. Do we have any more questions for, yeah, Wendy's got a question.
Oh, I did.
Hello.
We're going for dinner.
And you get the home.
Okay, so we just had a client call, she bought a house in December and she's got all this brown water now coming into her house. So on a standpoint, what happens, like, is the seller responsible for that? That she bought the house off of, or,
The seller through the offer, the seller warrants that all items will be working on the day of closing. So when the person takes possession, the fact that this is 4 months later, it's hard.
so it's
It
not
would be hard for the buyer to go back to the seller and say, this is your fault. You knew about this and you should have disclosed it. 4 months later, it'd be a hard thing to prove, even if it was true. I don't know.
but if it's a latent defect, if there was an issue. That the buyer could prove if they get an inspection
It's
done.
part of the well.
Part of the
well.
And that just happened?
Yeah.
I would say it's groundwater. That's
Yeah.
probably just because of the melting and stuff like that. It's,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. So again, something like that, is it a latent defect? Who knows, but it's, if it happened the day of closing, then they have something to. Would have a cause.
Yes,
Wendy, sometimes in town, I don't know where the house is, but somehow as well, but.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the city, they clean out the sewer system and you get brown water. in.
Yeah, right away. Yeah. That's a good point.
Now, Roger used to own a motel here in town. Now,
We sold a
13,
few, yeah.
a-
36 rentals at one time a year.
any quick lessons that you might be able to share with people who are thinking about getting into?
Well, Rob nailed it. I mean, the biggest thing that I've always found is, especially with, if you're getting into long-term rentals, we did a lot of short-term summer rentals and stuff, but through the winter, it's doing your due diligence, right? Credit checks, references. I was just working on a deal for a home with a client. And that was the other thing I was gonna say, obviously, with the prices that were up now, it was a BDO, it was a bankruptcy power sale. And they had it probably priced a little high. We went to look at the home. It was a complete gut job. But they wanted to sell it as is and had tenants in it. One was disabled. So again, because the landlord tenant act's constantly changing, I went through and read that, and it's actually should be their responsibility to get rid of them, but they wanted to pass them on to you. So, you're buying this home at, 500 grand, you gotta sink 100 into it. Maybe you can't get the tenants out, it's gonna be a tough situation right now, so. It's definitely making sure you're doing your due diligence and checking everything out, making sure all your costs and closings, transfer taxes. All that stuff to make sure that you're putting yourself in a profitable position, but. Yeah, it's like anything, I mean, we've done pretty well with our tenants because, again, venting and checking them out, but. Yeah, it can
Yeah.
have its issues, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
landlord and tenant act certainly is, in favor of the tenant, and that's one other advantage of commercial. Is that, you're not subject to the same rules, so if you have a commercial tenant who's not paying, you can literally lock them out.
After 2 weeks.
Yeah, Colleen?
Can you speak a little bit to the underused housing tax that came into effect?
Underused housing tax?
Yes.
Like the property thing.
The tax question.
Oh, very good question.
Maybe we can you?
There's not for a week now, so I just wondered if you knew, I know the basics of it. Is that if corporation owns a residential unit, they could possibly be taxed. If they don't fill out a certain form and send it into the government, there's a penalty for it, and yes, so. That is in effect now, the deadline is April 30th.
And this is.
I will learn more about it
Okay.
and.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back next month, April 28th, I think. We're gonna be here on a Wednesday night next month.
And
Yeah.
that's for residential as well.
Yeah, and it's
You have
they're in a partnership or a corporation, so it's very important. to know
And an
Who's owning the building?
an individual as well.
Yeah,
Because you've
if
got-
you're non-resident, if it's an individual, if you're non-resident,
Thank you, Colleen.
you're welcome.
All right, so I think that's about it for the name of the segment being So You Want to Become a Landlord.
So do you still want to become?
All right,
I
yes,
was gonna say one thing.
Yeah.
That we did too, like I had, because I was living in Wasaga, we had a Six Flags in Midland. And, we had made a deal with one of the tenants that was handy. That, would clean the snow, cut the grass, and if there was any little incidents he could take care of, we fixed. We didn't give him free rent, but, we did give him a bit of a discount. And then if there was an issue, then sometimes he couldn't get a hold, we had contacts like plumbers, things like that, that they could call on your behalf. So it's nice to make a little deal with one of those guys that, are a good tenant. Yeah, right. Good idea.
all right, very good. Thanks, Roger. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Rob Hutchison with no N. Okay, that's the correct spelling over there. All right. Next up, Lisa Carpell. Welcome, Lisa. So these are a few photos from the opening day of this particular show, inspired by a lifetime. Lisa, the acting curator of the Stonebridge Art Gallery, tell us a little bit about yourself and also this inspired by a lifetime. Let people know, because this is their last chance to see it, I think,
Well, I'm
today.
an
tomorrow.
artist myself. I carve stone and I also paint. And I do all kinds of art classes, teaching intuitive art therapy. This particular show wraps up 7 different retirement homes that I teach in. I teach in 10, but 7 were willing to get involved with this. And these are based on our weekly classes. Some are just, they're of all different levels. But the majority of them are advanced, believe it or not. And it's not even really a step-by-step. I just teach them a lot of different techniques so that they can paint and learn a little bit about background, middle ground, foreground, and value. And this is the result. of all of these people after they've been locked up for 3 years. And I go locked up, I know that's a really bad term, I don't really, but you know, all the grievances over 3 years of what they've gone through the pandemic, and this is the results. So all of the paintings on the wall, other than like there's some of mine, because I had to show my clients that I actually can paint and carve stone. So I did some larger focal pieces for the exhibit. And yes, all the ones on the walls are from 7 different retirement homes. So Wasaga Beach, Aurelia, Penetang, Barrie, and they're all just incredible, incredible people. I'm really fortunate to be able to work with them.
That's awesome. And so this is wrapping up. If anybody wants to see this show,
Now
Is there-
it's time.
now's the time.
Sign the book and tell me what you think about it on the way out.
So that's it.
Because tomorrow will probably look pretty different. I have my classes here that I've got adult classes on Tuesdays from 1 till 3 and children's classes on Wednesday evenings as well. But after my children's class tomorrow night, this is all coming down, and then Adele and Peter's work goes up too. It's going to be a great, great show. Adele's a wonderful painter. I've worked with her quite often in Collingwood, and she loves to do portraits, but she's actually got quite a few still life and bird-related paintings. And then her partner Peter carves the birds as well. So it's going to be a really great combination, nice show. It won't be as impactful as this one because this one has over 120 works of art. So you know, it'll probably look bare in comparison, but they've got some amazing, amazing works that are going to be on the piano and some plinths and you know, throughout the gallery.
So if people want to learn about art classes that you offer, those, are they on the website or?
They're posted on Wasaga Society for the Arts, and they're also
Okay.
posted with the Stonebridge Art Gallery. And my business is Creative Madness Art Studios, but due to the pandemic, I had to shut that down because it was on my property of 25 acres where I've been teaching for 20 years. So it made it a little challenging. So came along, you know, the Stonebridge Art Gallery, which was amazing. They opened during the pandemic and offered the space for me to start, you know, putting workshops here through the gallery. So it's wonderful. And we're also going to be running some other programs too. Lena's heading up like an art appreciation program where we're going to do about a 10 different series, like maybe once a month, where people can be a little more educated about art, learn about that. It's a bit of a community social as well, but that's going to be coming off very shortly as well.
Okay, so lots of things happening. If you didn't know about the art gallery, we're glad you're here, and tell your friends.
Please.
And
A lot of people don't know that there's actually an art gallery in Wasaga Beach, so please spread the word.
right,
The
okay.
hours of the art gallery.
Well, we're only open from Thursdays and Saturdays from 1 till 4. It's based on volunteers. So those are most of our hosts and hostesses, which we have been just so grateful to have. And as the interest grows, so will the hours of the gallery as well. I curate the shows and then I run workshops, and I'm just trying to get the word out there because it's a really great space and nobody knows we're here. So please tell your friends, tell everybody, and I hope you enjoy the show.
All right, thanks very much. So feel free to hang around, you know, schmooze. You can ask questions from the interviewees who are presenters who are here today, and you know, pick up business cards or whatever. Again, thanks again to our sponsors, Jennie, Elmslie, Rob Hutchison, myself. Thank you, David, and Beach Booster Media Group, and thanks to Wasaga Society for the Arts for having us here. And thanks to all of you for coming out, and also to the people online who maybe they're not there anymore. No, they are. Thanks to all of you for joining us. We'll see you next month. Bye for now.